Your lungs, most people think of them as airbags, two balloons that fill up when you breathe in and deflate when you breathe out. But here's what nobody tells you. Your lungs are one of the most sophisticated organs in your body. They contain over 600 million alveoli, tiny air sacs where oxygen enters your blood and carbon dioxide leaves. If you spread them flat, they'd cover a tennis court. And they do this 20,000 times a day, without you ever thinking about it. This is how your lungs actually work. And once you see the system, you'll never think of them as just bags again. Let's start with the structure. Your lungs sit inside your chest, one on each side of your heart. The right lung has 3 lobes, the left has 2 to make room for the heart. Together they weigh about 2.5 pounds, light enough to float on water. But inside, they're packed with over 1,500 miles of airways, starting from your trachea and branching into smaller and smaller tubes called bronchi and bronchioles, until they end in those tiny alveoli. Each alveolus is about 1/3 of a millimeter across, smaller than a grain of sand. Here's the magic. When you breathe in, air travels down your trachea, splits into 2 bronchi, then branches into smaller and smaller tubes until it reaches the alveoli. And this is where the real work happens. Each alveolus is wrapped in a mesh of capillaries, blood vessels so thin that red blood cells pass through single file. The wall between the air and the blood is only half a micron thick, about 1/100th of the width of a human hair. Oxygen diffuses across that wall into the blood. Carbon dioxide diffuses out. It's passive, no energy required, just physics. The numbers are staggering. Your lungs contain about 300 million alveoli in each lung, 600 million total. The surface area of all those alveoli, spread flat, is about 70 square meters, roughly the size of a tennis court. And every minute, your lungs process about 5 liters of air, delivering oxygen to your blood and removing carbon dioxide. Over the course of a day, that's about 10,000 liters of air. Your lungs are not just breathing. They're running the largest gas exchange operation in your body. So how does breathing actually work? It's not your lungs that do the work, it's your diaphragm. The diaphragm is a dome-shaped muscle sitting below your lungs. When it contracts, it flattens downward, creating a vacuum that pulls air in. When it relaxes, it springs back up, pushing air out. Your intercostal muscles between your ribs also help. They expand and contract your chest cavity. Breathing is a mechanical process, driven by muscles, not by the lungs themselves. The lungs are passive. They expand and contract because the muscles around them change the pressure. Now here's something most people don't know. The inside of your lungs is coated with a thin layer of fluid called surfactant. Without it, the alveoli would collapse every time you exhaled. The surface tension would be too strong to overcome. Surfactant reduces that tension by about 70%, allowing the alveoli to stay open with minimal effort. Premature babies often lack surfactant, which is why they struggle to breathe. This is one of the most important substances in your body, and most people have never heard of it. Your lungs also have a cleaning system. The airways are lined with tiny hair-like structures called cilia, millions of them, beating in coordinated waves. They sweep mucus, dust, and debris upward toward your throat, where you swallow it or cough it out. This mucociliary escalator moves at about 1 centimeter per minute, constantly clearing your airways. When you smoke, the cilia get paralyzed and eventually destroyed. That's why smokers cough. Their cleaning system has stopped working, and mucus accumulates. Here's the part that connects to the rest of your body. When oxygen enters your blood in the lungs, it binds to hemoglobin, a protein inside your red blood cells. Each hemoglobin molecule can carry 4 oxygen molecules. And here's the clever part. Hemoglobin doesn't just grab oxygen, it releases it where it's needed most. In tissues with high carbon dioxide and low oxygen, hemoglobin lets go of its cargo. This is called the Bohr effect, and it's why your muscles get more oxygen when they're working hard. Carbon dioxide, the waste product of every cell's metabolism, travels in the opposite direction. It dissolves in your blood, forms bicarbonate ions, and is carried back to the lungs, where it diffuses into the alveoli and gets exhaled. Your lungs remove about 200 milliliters of carbon dioxide per minute at rest, more during exercise. This is why you breathe faster when you exercise. Your muscles produce more CO2, and your lungs need to expel it faster to keep your blood pH stable. Your lungs are resilient, but they're not invincible. Smoking is the single biggest threat. It damages the alveoli, destroys cilia, and causes chronic inflammation that leads to emphysema, where the walls between alveoli break down, reducing surface area. Air pollution, dust, and allergens can also damage the lungs over time. Asthma narrows the airways with inflammation and mucus. COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, is the third leading cause of death worldwide, and smoking causes about 80% of cases. But here's the good news. Your lungs have remarkable capacity. You can lose up to half your lung tissue and still function normally. There's that much reserve. And unlike many organs, lungs can partially repair themselves. Quit smoking, and within weeks your cilia start regrowing. Within months, your lung function begins to improve. Within years, your risk of lung cancer drops significantly. The lungs want to heal, you just have to stop hurting them. So what actually strengthens your lungs? The boring answer, and it works. Exercise, especially cardio, forces your lungs to work harder, which strengthens your diaphragm and intercostal muscles. Deep breathing exercises can improve your lung capacity. Staying hydrated keeps the mucus thin and the cilia working. Avoiding smoke, dust, and pollution protects the delicate alveoli. And if you smoke, quitting is the single most powerful thing you can do. No supplement, no gadget, no special technique beats lungs that move, rest, and breathe clean air.